The night had all the makings of a perfect evening. Until the air changed and something inside Jasmine whispered, "This moment will be remembered for all the wrong reasons." Warm light poured from chandeliers that looked like captured constellations. Glassware chimed. Laughter rose and fell in polished waves. A pianist eased through old standards near the bar, the melody wrapping the room in velvet. The maitre d' floated between tables with a smile that never reached his eyes. Everything glittered. At a small table by the window, Malik and Jasmine Carter held hands beneath white linen. They had saved for this. They had planned the babysitter. Checked the menu online. Practiced pronouncing the chef's signature dish. Laughed at their own nerves. Argued about whether to order dessert even if they were full. The kind of sweet planning that gives an ordinary day a little crown. Malik wore a charcoal blazer. He'd tailored a fit just right. Jasmine wore a flowing emerald dress that turned heads for the best reasons. They were here to celebrate the year they had survived and the future they were building together. Their waiter arrived like a winter draft. Mid-40s, stiff posture, jaws set as if kindness cost extra. His name tag read Colin, but the name never softened his face. "Can I help you?" he asked. Not the words, but the temperature of them. "Yes," Malik said, smiling. Reservation for Carter. 2. Colin's gaze skimmed them, then slid away to the host stand, to room, anywhere but their eyes. "We're quite busy tonight. You might want to try somewhere else. Perhaps something more casual." The pianist kept playing. The chandeliers kept shining. A small emptiness opened in Jasmine's throat. "This is where we booked," she said. "Careful, steady. We'll keep our table." Colin's smile tightened. "I'm not sure this is the right fit." The words were simple. The meaning was not. Malik's jaw shifted. "What exactly do you mean by that?" "I mean," Colin said, lowering his voice, "our clientele expect a certain standard." Silence gathered like a crowd. Not loud, but present. A couple at the next table went suddenly still, eyes lowering as if the linen could hide their discomfort. A man at the bar pretended to examine the wine list with desperate interest. The room developed an allergy to eye contact. Jasmine slid her fingers more firmly around Malik's. A squeeze, that meant don't give him the scene he wants. A squeeze, that also meant I feel it too. "We'll take our business elsewhere," Malik said. His voice calmed the way a held tide is calm. They stood, chairs whispered across marble. Colin's lips twitched, a victory no one applauded. They walked out beneath chandeliers that had never learned how to weep. Outside, the night air held its breath. City sounds layered. Traffic, conversation, distant music. But none of it broke the small glass dome around them. Jasmine leaned into Malik, and he breathed in the familiar lavender on her skin and the unfamiliar anger in his chest. "I'm sorry," he said, though the apology wasn't his to give. She shook her head. "No, we're not shrinking for this. We're writing it down. Tonight, we eat someplace that sees us." "Yeah," he said, already reaching for his phone. "And tomorrow, we make sure no one else leaves that place feeling like we just did." What the waiter didn't know was that Carter wasn't only a reservation name. Malik Carter was a quiet force behind Carter Ventures, a firm known for buying troubled businesses and turning them into places that worked. For customers, for staff, for communities. He didn't flash it. He didn't announce it. He built better and let results talk. At midnight, while the city rinsed itself in neon and streetlight, he called Mara, his general counsel. He didn't raise his voice to the past. He raised a plan for the future. By sunrise, emails had moved through inboxes like clean wind. By mid-morning, Mara had a folder. Missed payments, a landlord growing impatient, a short list of potential buyers who were all waiting for a fire sale. By noon, a conference call. By 3, terms. By 5, signatures. By 6, the locks didn't change, but the ownership did. The next evening, the restaurant staff filed an early, summoned by an urgent meeting. They gathered under the chandeliers that had applauded too much silence the night before. Cooks untied and retied aprons. Servers leaned on the backs of chairs. The maitre d' checked his reflection, then checked the door. Colin stood near the espresso machine like a man who suspects thunder but still hopes for sun. The previous owner, cleared his throat at the front of the room. The effort looked like it hurt. As of today, he said, the restaurant has been sold. The new owner will address you. The door opened. Malik walked in, navy suit, no pomp, present steady as a hand on your shoulder. He scanned the room, not to judge but to understand. Colin's face set in a new kind of stiffness. Recognition without clarity. Memory without name. Good evening, Malik said. My name is Malik Carter. As of this morning, I own this restaurant. A ripple, not loud, moved through the staff. I came here last night with my wife to celebrate. Instead, I was reminded how quickly a place can choose who belongs and who does not. Under my ownership, we will choose differently. He didn't look at Colin yet. He looked at the dishwashers, the line cooks, the host team whose smiles have been trained to apologize for other people's choices. This place will be excellent, he continued. Excellence in cuisine, excellence in service, excellence in dignity. Everyone who steps through those doors, guest or staff, will be treated with respect. If that feels difficult or inconvenient, tonight is your chance to tell me you're not on board. Silence again, but this one didn't smell like complicity. It smelled like attention. We start with action, Malik said. Effective immediately. Mandatory hospitality training with a focus on empathy and de-escalation. Clear accountability. Anonymous reporting. A no-tolerance policy for discrimination, subtle or stupid, loud or quiet. Promotions are performance, not politics. Tips are shared fairly and transparently. Kitchen staff get the same family meal as front of house. We'll close for 2 days to reset and reopen with intention. He paused, then turned to Colin. Last night, a couple with a reservation was told they might prefer something more casual, that they didn't meet the standard. I'm not firing you today. I'm offering you the same chance I expect you to give others. The chance to change. Can you take that? Colin's mouth opened, then closed. Shame is a wordless language. Yes, he said finally, voice dry. I can. Good, said Malik. Then let's build something worthy of the people we serve. The door stayed shut for 48 hours. Inside, voices filled rooms that had previously only echoed with orders. A trainer named Shyla stood at the center of the dining room with a flip chart and an unshakable gentleness. She wrote 3 words in thick black marker. See. Here. Serve. She asked the staff to tell her about the best service they had ever received anywhere. A mechanic who remembered a grandmother's name. A librarian who bent a rule to spare embarrassment. A street vendor who said, I'll keep an eye on your bike, and meant it. She asked for the worst. 2. Stories tumbled out like a drawer you'd rather not open. A bar where accents were mocked. A boutique where security shadowed a teenage girl through every aisle. A returning veteran turned away for wearing work boots. 1,000 paper cuts and 3 that still bled. Shyla taught scripts that weren't scripts. Curiosity without condescension. Welcome in. What are we celebrating? How can I make this easier? I can't do that, but here's what I can do. She role-played. She let people fail gently and try again. She asked managers to sit in the chairs reserved for least empowered and listen. She asked cooks to step into the dining room and hear the compliments that never travel back through swinging doors. In the kitchen, the chef gathered the team around a whiteboard that had only ever known specials. Signature dish is a signature welcome, he said. We'll add a rotating community course. Highlight a dish honoring neighborhoods across the city. Partner with local farmers. Tell the story on the menu. Food is culture. We played it with respect. The reopening night arrived quiet and brave. The chandeliers looked less like crowns and more like lanterns. The hostess stand held a small sign. All are welcome at this table. Some guests came because they'd heard. Some came because they hadn't. All were greeted like a promise. Jasmine and Malik took a table by the window. The linen felt softer, though it hadn't changed. The room had. The new service captain, a woman named Mina with musician's poise, approached with a smile that reached both eyes. Welcome in, she said. We're honored to have you. May I start you with our community course? Tonight, we're featuring a dish inspired by the Southside Night Market, with a portion of proceeds going back to their youth program. Jasmine blinked and smiled. Yes, please. Mina turned, hesitated, then added, also, on behalf of the team, thank you for this. This? Jasmine asked. This restaurant. Mina said simply, this way of doing it. 2 tables over, a family came in with a stroller and an apologetic wind. The host waved away the embarrassment with, we understand small humans. Let us make space. At the bar, a retired teacher and a recent college grad compared notes on old songs and new neighborhood coffee shops. In the corner, 2 line cooks finished their shift meal with the pastry chef who'd saved them cinnamon rolls tagged with their names. Colin worked station 4. He delivered water. He delivered bread. He delivered the kind of eye contact that doesn't pin you down, but lets you breathe. A couple in vintage denim asked about the seasonal mocktail. He didn't say, I don't know. He said, let me find out, and returned with an answer and the quiet dignity of someone practicing respect like a skill. 2 weeks later, reviews began to arrive. Not just stars. Stories. A birthday dinner where the staff brought out a Polaroid and a frame so the night could live, somewhere longer than a phone. A first date treated like a high holiday. A table of nurses after a night shift whose coffee refills were refills of thanks. Still, not everything was smooth. A guest grumbled about the community course donation. Another rolled his eyes at the poster announcing staff profit sharing. Someone left a complaint online that read, too political. Malik printed it and taped it inside the staff room with a note, principles are our policy. The team signed the printout like a yearbook. They went back to work. One Friday, the dinner rush hit with a beautiful chaos that lets a restaurant demonstrate its choreography. A glass broke at the service bar. The barback said, you okay? Before sweeping. A child dropped a fork. A server replaced it before the grief reached tears. Table 12 complained about a wait. The floor manager comped a starter and didn't punish the server for a kitchen backlog. Colin passed Jasmine and Malik's table. Paused, then returned. Mr. Carter. Mrs. Carter, he said. May I speak? Of course, Malik said. He swallowed. I wanted to apologize. Truly, I repeated that night 100 times, and every version ends with me wishing I had chosen differently. I thought excellence meant gatekeeping. It doesn't. Thank you for giving me work to do instead of just a door to walk out. Thank you for doing the work, Jasmine said. Keep going. He nodded and left, shoulders set not in defense, but in commitment. In month 3, a quiet ceremony unfolded before opening. A scholarship announcing the name of a dishwasher who had passed the sommelier exam studying on breaks, a staff library shelf built from milk crates and a promise, a bulletin board labeled, Who We Are, filled with baby photos, graduation caps, a worn concert ticket, a recipe taped up in a grandmother's careful handwriting. Food critics finally came. They wrote about the charred lemon that made the seafood sing, and the pastry that cracked like delicate porcelain between the teeth. Yes, but they also wrote about the feeling. Hospitality with a spine. One wrote, a dining room that remembers your name and your dignity. Wrote another, chandeliers that don't blind the staff. Wrote a third, and every server who had ever felt invisible laughed until the kitchen asked what was so good. Then came a night that tested all of it. A storm rolled through without asking. Power flickered once, then again, then gave up. The room exhaled into dimness. A few guests gasped. Someone said, of course. The emergency lights blinked awake. Stay seated. Mina called, voice warm and practical. We're safe. We'll pivot. Candles arrived like tiny suns. The chef emerged with a new plan, fire-only menu, cast iron, candle-warm butter, a salad that didn't need electricity to taste like a garden after rain. The pianist, who had been scheduled for Saturday, happened to be at the bar and quietly rolled the upright from the back room with 2 bussers and a shrug that said, why not? He played by candlelight. People leaned closer to their own tables and then to one another's. Strangers toasted. A pair of electricians at the corner table offered to check the breaker when they finished dessert. They did. Power returned with a cheer. But no one forgot how the room had felt when the lights were out, and care became its own electricity. Business grew. Not reckless. Rooted. Week by week, The staff added muscle to what had begun as a promise. Vendors were paid on time. Staff schedules came out early. A line cook could attend a cousin graduation without fear. A server made rent when an illness cut her shifts because the emergency fund they'd voted on months before stepped in like a neighbor. One afternoon, a group of teenagers from a neighborhood toured the kitchen. They learned why a knife isn't just sharpness, but safety, why mise en place is life advice, why a dining room is a stage and a sanctuary. One asked how you become an owner. You start by learning every job here, Malik said, and you treat the person mopping the floor like the person signing your offer letter, because one day they might be the same person. On their next anniversary, Malik and Jasmine returned to their window table. The city outside moved like water. Inside, a hum that felt like a heartbeat. Mina brought them a small plate not on the menu. 2 bites of something bright and new. From the pastry team, she said. They said you believed in them before they did. They ate, eyes crinkling at the corners, hands finding each other under the table like a tradition. Do you ever think about that first night? Jasmine asked. Every time I see someone welcomed, he said, which means I think about it a lot. Across the room, Colin refilled a glass, bent to speak softly to an elderly guest, then straightened and caught Malik's eye. He didn't look away. He gave a small nod that said, I'm still choosing differently. Near the host stand, a sign had been added beside, all are welcome at this table. It read, Dignity is our dress code, and this is what a turnaround really looks like. Less fireworks, more steady light. A chandelier that learned humility, a staff that learned voice, a dining room that learned how to be a neighborhood, not a mirror. Because the truth is simple and stubborn. Respect doesn't cost a dime, and its return compounds daily. The person you dismiss today could walk in tomorrow carrying the keys to your future. The door you try to close on someone else might be the door you need one day, open, warm, and waiting. So if you believe dignity should be served with every plate, if you believe excellence and empathy belong at the same table, let's keep building rooms like this together. Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that matter, and share this with someone who needs a reminder. Because next time, it might not be us, it might be someone you know.